So for those of you that have followed me for a while, you probably know I date women. And this has been kind of a challenge for me when dating women, and it's been this huge pet peeve of mine. And it only happens when you're in a long-term relationship, or when this is going to be very anecdotal. It only happens to me when I've been in like a long-term relationship, we've just been together for a while. Women seem to think that sex becomes optional once you are in a relationship with them and committed and have, been together for a while. For me, at least a year. There was only one woman that I was with that this really wasn't a problem with. But that was also a toxic relationship in other ways. So, in my head, I always thought okay, so if a relationship is abusive, that means that we will have great sex, and if a relationship is not abusive, that means that we will eventually have no sex. And that's kind of like what I always thought when dating women. I just kind of assumed it about women. And soon it kind of became this non-negotiable for me. Because after my last relationship, which was a sexless relationship, I said to myself, I'm never going to deal with that again. And the great thing about me as a partner to anybody is that I do get curious. I do have empathy. I want to know what's going on, why you don't want to have sex. I want to know what is, because there's something obviously off if your relationship is just sexless, right? So typically, I always ask my partner, what can I do? What do you think is wrong? The issue with my last partner was that she would gaslight me and say that nothing was wrong. It's absolutely normal for a relationship to be sexless. And she just doesn't feel like it. And again, nothing is wrong. You don't have to worry. But it was something that we constantly argued about because she made it seem like it was just a drive thing, like an issue with her drive. And she never wanted to look deeper into it. She never wanted to maybe get therapy or get on medication or go to the doctor. She never wanted to try. She always thought, this is what a relationship is. We have sex maybe once a month, maybe if even, and that's it. And essentially my relationship, I was with her for over a year. We became roommates, friends. We would hang out with our friends more than we would have sex. And, obviously to me this wasn't normal. This was not me being greedy for sex. I did not constantly push sex upon her. In fact, I think the first 3 arguments we ever had about sex, that was pretty much it. After that, I kind of stopped trying. The full story is that, of course, in the beginning, we had sex. It was good. It was great. And then, as soon as I moved in with her, the sex disappeared. Totally disappeared. Maybe we had sex a couple times. I would say in the 9 months that I lived with her, we probably had sex maybe 10 times, if even. Could have been less. Is that not crazy? 10 times in 9 months that we maybe had sex. Meanwhile, our first few dates together, it was just sex, which was normal for me because my relationship prior to her was the relationship where we didn't have a problem with sex. Actually, sex was the only problem we didn't have. Because she was a narcissist, so, of course. I'm not saying I was perfect in any of these relationships, by the way. I'm trying to say that I am sensitive. Like, if my partner truly does not want to have sex, she just doesn't feel well, maybe even for weeks, she's not feeling well, she doesn't want to have sex, that is something that I can get behind. That is something I understand. Especially if my partner is being intimate with me in a non-sexual manner in between the moments that we just can't have sex. Touching my arm, holding my hand, hugging me, holding me, cuddling me, kissing me, making out, grabbing my ass. If my partner is still being affectionate and caring and lovely and putting effort in other ways where I can see it and I can feel it, if she's like, no, I've been on my period for 2 weeks, or oh, I'm just not feeling well for 3 weeks, or whatever, like, that is more understandable, right? But it was like with my last partner, and I think with a lot of straight relationships, men and women, also lesbian relationships, it's like women get to the point where they're so repulsed by their partner. Like, I felt like my last partner, before my current partner, the sexless relationship, I felt like she didn't even want me to touch her in a non-sexual way. Like, she didn't want me to put my arm on her or hand on her. She didn't want me to kiss her. She didn't want me to hug her or hold her hand. She didn't want any of that. So, and then we just acted like we were friends. You know what I mean? There's a huge difference and huge vibe difference between a human being you're in a romantic relationship with and a human being you're in a friendship with. There's a huge vibe difference. You could just feel it. Huge difference. And with my ex, it felt like we were literally just friends. Roommates that slept in the same bed. And, you know, mind you, we were only like 30 years old at the time. Barely in a relationship with each other for a few months when I first moved in. Maybe we were like in a relationship at that point for like 4, 5, 6 months or something. Yeah, maybe 6 months. Moved in, which I agree is fast, of course. The problem is she lived in a different country. That's why I felt like I had to move in with her. That's why I felt like I had to like sacrifice, because she couldn't move to me. Anyway, it's a very convoluted story. But this is about women losing interest in sex. Now, it's one thing if you as a woman loses interest in sex, you could be self-aware about it and say, this is not normal. This is not the relationship will not be sustained if I don't figure this out. And I, as the lower libido woman, needs to find a solution. Because not having sex, like taking sex away from the relationship, is almost like taking communication away from the relationship, right? Sex is one way that we connect. Sex is one way that we communicate with each other. Sex is one way that we are telling each other how we care about each other. It is necessary in a relationship. It's a non-negotiable. And I would say it's a problem if you're only having sex once a month, if you're just consistently rejecting your partner, if you're even having sex less than once a month, if you haven't had sex for years, if you're just noticing that you are repulsed by your partner, even if you have, or if you are having sex but you're like a starfish, you're like not into it, you don't even want to engage or connect with your partner, and it's just a chore as opposed to a practice, because sex is a practice. Sex is something that you're not always going to be turned on for, right? I mean, we all have busy lives. Some people have children. Some people are incredibly busy. Some people are just living normal lives, but they're tired. You know, there's so many reasons not to have sex, right? There's so many excuses in life, because life is hard, to say, I don't feel like having fucking sex. You know? Whatever the reason. It's like, we've been together for 20 years. Why do we have to have sex? We have children. Why do we have to have sex? You know, I get that mentality, but that mentality is not going to sustain a healthy relationship if that is what you want. If you want a healthy relationship, you have to have sex. And it should be enjoyable for you and your partner. It should be something that you look forward to. It should be something that you want to want, because, again, we're not always going to be turned on. We actually have to teach ourselves how to allow ourselves to get turned on. And our partner needs to be a part of that, of course. But we also need to allow ourselves to get turned on, right? If you're noticing that sex is just dwindling away in your relationship, you need to then start a regimen for yourself, and of course your partner will be a part of that, and put together a team effort to figure out how we can practice sex in an intentional manner, as opposed to just like, oh yeah, let's just schedule it, I'm just gonna like do this, finish, and it's over, like, and then everybody's just like, ugh. Like, sex is supposed to be a beautiful, gorgeous practice that is almost like the glue in your relationship. It is somewhat the glue of a relationship. It's not necessarily the foundation, but it's the glue, you know. If a relationship is a house that you're building and maintaining, you know, communication and understanding and emotional regulation is like the foundation of the house. Sex is like the nails, the glue, the drywall, you know? It's like the secondary support in your relationship. That's how it should be treated. If you desire to have a good relationship with your partner and to have a healthy, peaceful relationship, whether you're gay or straight or married or just in a relationship, whatever, you need to enjoy having sex with each other in whatever way that has to be. You need to enjoy having sex together. You need to figure that out, and you need to have sex, I mean, at least once a week. Come on, at least once a week. And I would say healthy amount of sex, a really good amount of sex for any couple, busy, struggling, whatever, a healthy amount of sex, really good, like your relationship is in good standing, is having sex at least 3 times a week. But this is like if you live together. If you don't live together, it's understandable if you can only have sex like 2 times a week, or if you're long distance, of course, if you only see each other once a month. But for couples that live near each other or live with each other, no matter how long you've been together, 3 times a week is really good, in my opinion, because we have lives, we're busy, things happen, some people have children. But to make an effort 3 times a week, it doesn't always have to be like hours long. You can figure out how to enjoy quickies with each other. You can have fun with it. A lot of the reason we don't have a good sexual relationship with our partner is because other things are not good in the relationship, right? Maybe communication, maybe there's a lot of resentment, maybe you just don't respect your partner anymore. Some of these things are deal breakers, so maybe you're just in the wrong relationship. But otherwise, if you want to work on your relationship, then you need to bring up all this shit from under the ground. You need to talk. You need to solve your past issues. You need to just get over shit and move on. And that kind of allows you to get turned on sexually. To get turned on sexually, you need to respect your partner. You need to have respect for your partner, admiration, belief in your partner. They need to respect you. They need to be kind to you. They need to be safe and feel safe in whatever way, emotionally safe, physically safe. And that creates the recipe for sexual desire. But whatever way it needs to happen, it needs to happen. It needs to come from both parties. It takes two to tango. But yeah, I'm really sick of people just saying, my sexual desire just went out the window because I got older. Or, well, we've been together for 15 years. What did you expect? I'm really sick of excuses. Unless you have like a horrible, terrible medical issue, then maybe let your partner go sleep with somebody else. I don't know. I know that sounds really horrible, but no sex, a sexless relationship is a failing relationship. Always. 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 And then it always seems like the partner with the lower libido is shocked when the relationship ends. It happened with me. My ex was shocked that I was leaving the relationship. And I'm like, what the frig are you talking about? Like, why are you shocked that I'm leaving this relationship? We are literally nothing. We are nothing. And I have tried and reached out to you and held my hand out and communicated and thrown you a lifeboat and a life vest and whatever I can to help you and help us figure this problem out. And she never took any of my assistance. She never wanted to compromise or try to figure out what was going wrong. She just like, bleh. And then was completely shocked when I left the relationship. So when the higher libido person stops pursuing, with us, it was like we had been like pretty much like months without sex at this point. I think we had already broken up with each other, and then we went to try to have sex, but it just wasn't working for me. I could not get in the mood. I could not get going with her. And that is a problem in lesbian relationships. I'm not going to describe why, but I'm sure you could figure it out. So I couldn't get it going, and she was so upset. And I'm like, you have rejected me and denied me and made me feel like a burden for months. You really think I'm like turned on by you? If anything, I feel like you hate me. I'm trying to have sex with someone who hates me. It's like, this is not a very sexy moment in my life. So the tables were turned. And she got very upset. And it was literally like the tables had turned. Instead of me being upset about us not having sex, now she's upset that we're not having sex. And she was shocked again when I left. So it's like, why? We reach out, we talk, we try to get you on our side. To tell you, like, this isn't gonna work if this keeps happening. This is not going to work. It's just not. Relationships don't thrive when there's no sexual intimacy. They just don't. And if someone stays with you and you don't give them sex, that person is down bad for you, or they're afraid to be alone, they're just desperate, or they're financially dependent upon you, or they're codependent upon you. Either way, it's not a healthy relationship. It's not a healthy situation. The length of a relationship does not indicate health or a couple thriving, sometimes it indicates codependency, a fear of being alone, fear of starting over, fear that you're not good enough, fear like feeling like you're ugly anyway, so that's why my wife or husband or whoever doesn't want to have sex with me. And so they just stay. But typically a healthy person will see a sexless relationship and an aloof partner, that combination, they'll see that and leave eventually. They will eventually leave. Absolutely. So that's my opinion on sexless relationships. And mostly, I will say it's women who initiate the sexless relationship because they're just not as driven as men biologically. And it happens in lesbian relationships. Yes, it's called lesbian bed death, if you're curious. And it's a sad, sad experience. It's a sad, sad experience, yes. So I kind of know how men feel in that sense. But yeah, thanks for watching, listening to me ramble, and I'll see you in the next video.